The first thing I heard when I woke up from anesthesia wasn't a nurse or a doctor, it was Ricky whispering, "Bro, don't panic, but you really need to see this." I blinked slowly, feeling the tug of stitches just under my ribs. My mouth was dry, throat raw, and vision was still swimming. I tried to sit up, but Ricky held me back gently and placed my phone in my hand instead. "It's bad," he said. "Just scroll." I didn't understand until the screen lit up and her name was right there, Martha, with a smug selfie, glittery dress, hair done, red lips parted just enough for that practiced influencer smile. Caption: "Single life begins now, fresh start, #, no more dead weight." Timestamp: 2 hours ago, I was still unconscious. I stared at the image like it was a hallucination, but the likes were real, the comments too. Finally, one read, "Took her long enough. She's glowing already." One even said, "He was dead weight. Imagine being stuck with him during recovery. Girl upgraded." The world didn't spin, it stalled. Froze. I couldn't feel my legs, couldn't feel my lungs. I had named Martha my emergency contact. She had filled out my hospital admission paperwork. She had signed the consent for my organ release form in case anything went wrong. I had put my life in her hands. And she used the recovery time to announce her freedom. Ricky must have seen my chest tightening because he grabbed my shoulder, firm and grounding. "I didn't want you to see it like this, man. But better now than after discharge." I couldn't speak. My pulse was going berserk under the monitor. I tried to breathe slower. Focus. I remembered the night before the surgery. Martha had kissed me on the forehead and said, "I'll be right there when you wake up." She'd even made fun of me for being scared. "You'll be fine, you're strong, just go to sleep and when you open your eyes, I'll be here." I smiled like a fool and believed every word. I had trusted her to stay, not to weaponize my unconsciousness. A nurse stepped in. "Mr. Harry, you're awake. That's wonderful. Everything went smoothly. We'll monitor vitals for the next 12 hours. I nodded numbly. "Martha, did she leave anything?" I asked. The nurse tilted her head. "Your girlfriend? No, she signed your chart and left after you were wheeled in, said she had errands." Errands. She was probably raising a glass with Ricky's screenshot still going viral online. It had 11,000 retweets already. My body was stitched up, but this cut deeper than anything a scalpel could do. I turned my head slowly. "Where is she now?" Ricky hesitated. "Anna saw her at Lumiere, that rooftop club downtown. She was laughing with strangers. Ricky says she went live for a few minutes, said something like, 'No more nurse duties.'" Nurse duties, that's what I'd been reduced to, a patient she babysat until the anesthesia hit. And once I was knocked out, she bolted straight to nightlife and filtered freedom. I squeezed the phone tighter, my fingers curled around it like it was the last piece of reality I trusted. I opened my files, went to legal docs, pre-op, the NDA was there, unsigned. She had refused to sign it when I showed it to her a week ago, said it made her feel like I didn't trust her. I had deleted the email copy out of guilt, but kept the hard copy and digital version, just in case. "I'm not going to let her play the victim," I muttered. "She thinks she's smart, doing it while I'm under, but I'm not staying quiet." Ricky raised his brow. "What are you planning to do?" I looked him in the eye. "Post her NDA? Seriously?" I nodded. "Her real signature, her agreement, with terms, boundaries, silence clause. Since she wants to treat my recovery like entertainment, let's treat her actions like contract breach." I opened my notes app and began typing. The first line read, "While I was under anesthesia, my girlfriend posted a breakup announcement. That same woman signed this NDA 2 weeks ago. Here's what she agreed to." Ricky let out a low whistle. "This is gonna go nuclear." I didn't flinch. "Good, I hope it burns." Before Martha humiliated me online, before her betrayal spread like wildfire through every device in our circle, I thought I knew her. We'd met 3 years ago, at a university fundraiser. I was working logistics, she was working the room. She had that soft laugh that made every guy turn his head, but she looked past all of them and walked straight toward me. That night she said, "You look like someone who sees through the noise," and I, stupidly, thought that meant she saw me too. Our first date was at a rundown sushi place next to the train station. I remember it because she showed up in heels that didn't match the sticky floor, and she laughed the whole time about how badly the fish smelled, but she didn't leave, she stayed. That night, she let me walk her home, even though it was raining and I'd forgotten my umbrella. We huddled under her coat and talked like we'd known each other for years. I was already falling. Martha moved in with me 6 months later, after her lease ended. We were still young and broke, living off vending machine ramen and 2 job schedules that never quite aligned, but she made our apartment feel like something permanent. She'd tape Polaroids on the fridge, always kept fresh flowers, even if it meant cutting back on her makeup budget. I'd wake up to lipstick kisses on napkins. Go get 'em, Harry. Those little things, she made them mean everything. Ricky used to joke that we were terminally romantic, that we looked like Pinterest threw up in our apartment. I didn't care. I loved it. I loved her. Even when we argued, which wasn't rare, she had this way of turning fights into performances. She'd raise her voice, but never her hand. Her words cut sharp, but always smiled when they landed. It made me question myself more than her, and every time I tried to walk away, she'd stop me with a whisper, "Don't give up on us." So I never did. By the time I turned 27, I was in deep. I'd gotten a decent job offer, tech consultancy with a defense contractor, which meant longer hours and a higher tax bracket. Martha said she was proud of me. She told everyone at her yoga studio that I was her rocket ship. She made me feel like I was going somewhere. But somewhere along the climb, I didn't notice when her language changed. It wasn't "we" anymore, it was "you should" and "I want." You should buy a better couch. I want to travel with friends this summer. You should consider splitting your salary, just for balance. I want to get matching his and hers watches, just for the gram. At first, I thought it was stress. I blamed myself. Maybe I'd buried myself too deep in work. Maybe I hadn't been attentive. I even downloaded those couples therapy apps. But whenever I brought them up, Martha rolled her eyes. "Harry, we don't need therapy. You need to stop being paranoid." And I listened. Like an idiot, I listened. Anna noticed first. Anna and I had dated once, back in college. We didn't last, too different, too intense, but we stayed close after the breakup. She was calm in ways Martha wasn't, stable in ways I'd grown to undervalue. She knew the difference between chaos and passion, and she often warned me, "Harry, just because someone makes your heart race doesn't mean they're good for it." One night, over coffee, Anna told me point blank, "Martha's not on your side, you know that, right?" I defended her. "She's just loud, she's not malicious." Anna looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're too smart to pretend you don't see it, but I know why you do." I didn't ask her to explain because I knew I was addicted to the version of Martha I met, not the one she had become. The decline wasn't sudden, it was methodical. At first, Martha started spending less time at home, then she started requesting space. When I asked what that meant, she'd say, "Harry, not everything has to be defined, just let me breathe." So I gave her air, and she used it to practice being single. We stopped celebrating anniversaries. Her birthday became a private event with just the girls. I didn't even know the names of half the people she tagged anymore, but I still told myself we were okay, because she always came back. She still used our joint account, still signed her name next to mine on rent agreements, still curled up beside me when I was too tired to argue. She would rest her head on my chest and say, "You feel safe." And that sentence alone would make me forget every fight, every doubt. But safety, I later realized, isn't the same as love. Safety can be manipulation dressed in routine, and I was her routine. Ricky had tried to say something once too, a couple of weeks before the surgery. "You ever think she's just waiting for you out?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" He shrugged. "I don't know, man. She doesn't post you anymore, barely mentions your name, but she still uses the apartment like a backdrop." I told him to back off. I wasn't ready to hear the truth then. When the doctors told me I'd need minor abdominal surgery, Martha was calm. She said she'd be there for all of it. She even printed the hospital documents. "Let me handle the boring stuff," she'd smiled. "You just focus on getting better." I didn't know then that she'd already planned her outfit for the breakup photo. The night before the surgery, we had dinner together. I was too nauseous from the prep meds to eat, but she ordered her usual, penny with cream sauce and no garlic. She said it made her feel bloated. I asked her quietly, "Do you think we're okay?" She stared at her phone the whole time, scrolling through TikToks and laughing at other couples' failures. Then she looked up and said, "Of course we are. You always worry too much. I believed her. I let her kiss my forehead and tuck me in. She said, "When you wake up, I'll be right there." But when I did, the only thing there was Ricky's face and Martha's online obituary of our relationship. That was the first time I didn't cry. Not out of strength, out of pure, bottomless numbness. By the time I was discharged from the hospital, Martha had already crafted an entirely new version of herself online. The girl who used to cry over dropped latte foam now had a feed filled with detachment quotes, edited selfies, and captions like, "Healing looks good on me." She hadn't blocked me. She didn't need to. I was just another one of her viewers now, a ghost to haunt with filters and ring lights. Ricky drove me home. He didn't talk much, but he didn't need to. I could feel him watching me in the rearview mirror. Every time I closed my eyes, that photo would flash back, her laugh, her pose, the hashtag. Hashtag no more dead weight. When we reached my apartment, the one Martha and I shared for over 2 years, her things were already gone. The desk she'd cluttered with crystals and scented candles, empty. The hooks where she used to hang her faux fur coats, stripped bare. Even the coffee mugs were reorganized. Mine were left, hers removed. Like she'd extracted herself surgically, right down to the coasters. There was only one thing she forgot. On the fridge was a Polaroid from months ago. We were at a summer carnival. She had cotton candy in one hand and her cheek pressed to mine, her other hand mid-air, flipping off the camera while she laughed. I pulled it down and stared at it for a long time, then tore it in half, clean, down the middle. I left the fridge door open. Let it beep. The first message came that evening. "Martha, glad to see you're alive. Didn't know if Ricky would get you home in one piece. Martha, BTW, let me know if you find my silver anklet, might have left it in the bathroom drawer." That was it. No, I'm sorry. No, we need to talk. No admission. Just her usual way of easing guilt with sarcasm. I didn't reply. She messaged again 3 hours later. "Martha. So we're doing the silent treatment now? You've done that since college. Grow up." Martha. I didn't cheat on you, if that's what you think, and if you post anything petty online, you're gonna regret it. Ah. There it was, the threat layered inside the deflection. I opened her profile again, still public, still mocking. I went to the drawer in my desk and pulled out the signed NDA. Contrary to what she believed, she had signed it. A cleaner version, without the harsher clauses, but enough to hold up. It was for a documentary we once planned to shoot together. Couples who build brands. She had insisted we try. I had agreed, but asked for a soft NDA for legal boundaries. She signed it without reading. She always said, "I trust you." I scanned it again, highlighting the public image clause. Clause 5.3. Neither party shall publicly disclose, mock, defame, or imply negative statements about the other in connection to medical events, recovery periods, or associated personal conditions, directly or indirectly. She hadn't just mocked, she'd turned my surgery into her social rebound. It would have been enough age to win in arbitration, especially with the timestamps, screenshots, and digital trail. Still, I waited. 2 days passed. Martha didn't apologize. She just posted stories from a rooftop brunch. A boomerang of clinking glasses. A caption, "New energy, no baggage." Her smile never faltered, not once. Anna came by that evening. She'd brought groceries, knowing I wouldn't cook. She didn't ask anything until I handed her the NDA. She read it slowly, tracing the edges of the paper with her thumb. "You're really going to do this?" "I'm thinking about it," I said. She signed it. "I've got screenshots, witnesses, metadata." Anna nodded. "Legally, you're covered, but you know she'll play it like you're the psycho ex. She's not going to sit quietly." "I know," I said. "That's why I'm not doing it yet." She tilted her head. "Then what's the plan?" I hesitated. Then I looked her in the eye. "I want her to come back." Anna frowned. "What?" "Not to stay," I clarified. "To try. To test me. To see if there's still a version of me she can twist. I want her to need something." "And when she does?" "I want her to feel what it's like to be dismissed. Coldly. Legally. Publicly." Anna was quiet for a moment, Then she nodded once. Then don't reply to her. Don't feed her. Let her circle back on her own. She paused, then added, "But Harry, make sure this isn't about revenge. Make sure it's about clarity. Otherwise, she still wins." I promised I would. I lied. On the 5th day, Martha returned. Not physically, but digitally. She sent a video. No caption, no explanation, just her, sitting at our old kitchen counter, wearing one of my oversized hoodies. Her eyes were glassy. She was holding a mug, mine. In the video, she sighed and said, "You know, I keep trying to be angry at you, but I still pour coffee into your cup every morning. I forgot you're not here." Then the screen went black. I stared at the video for 20 minutes, then I pressed play again. She knew what she was doing. This wasn't remorse, it was bait. Emotional fishing disguised as vulnerability. And I almost bit. Until I checked the metadata. The video had been recorded weeks ago. She'd filmed it while I was still in pre-op. She'd kept it ready, just in case she needed to pull me back in. Calculated. Always calculated. I drafted a reply, didn't send it. Instead, I scheduled a post. Midnight. Sharp. I typed, "Since clarity is trending, let's clarify. This woman signed a non-disclosure agreement. Here's section 5.3, and here's what she violated while I was unconscious." I attached the scanned signature, the dated timestamp, her tweet, her post-op absence, all of it. Ricky called the moment it went up. "You just went nuclear." I said nothing. The notifications poured in like rain, comments, reposts, DMs. Some called it petty, some called it deserved, most just called it karma. By 1:30 a.m., Martha's account was set to private. By 2:15, she texted, "Martha, you seriously posted the NDA? What kind of heartless freak are you? Martha, you think this makes you look good? All it does is prove you're bitter. Martha, take it down." I didn't reply. Then came the next message. "Martha, fine, let's talk. Come to the studio tomorrow, 1 hour, that's all I ask." I stared at it. The bait was different now. No video, no hoodie, just her voice, trying to retake control. I typed, "Harry, bring the anklet, and a pen." Then I turned off my phone. Tomorrow, I won't bring sympathy. I'd bring the second NDA. The one she didn't sign. Yet. I barely slept that night. Even with the NDA post out in the world, even with Martha cornered into damage control, my mind kept spiraling. I lay on my back in bed, staring at the ceiling fan, counting every slow rotation like it might hypnotize me out of thinking, but it did. End. I kept replaying the surgery prep. The way Martha had tied the hospital band on my wrist, made a half-hearted joke about how white bands are always bad luck, and then kissed my forehead like she cared, like she was afraid of losing me. Liar. She'd known then what she was going to post. She'd probably written the caption days in advance. I shifted in bed and winced. The stitches on my side tugged. Painkillers helped, but they didn't mute the kind of pain that sat behind your eyes, behind your ribs, behind your memory. Emotional pain isn't loud, it's persistent. That was the part no one ever tells you. Rage is fast, it's explosive, but grief is patient. It doesn't arrive screaming, it just sits at the foot of your bed and waits for you to break down. And I was breaking, quietly. I turned my phone over on the nightstand and checked the time. 3:17 a.m. No new messages. Martha hadn't said anything after the studio invite. I wondered if she was asleep, or just lying awake like me, calculating her next move. She was good at that, strategic. Every emotional beat she ever played came with timing. Even now, part of me hoped she'd call and explain it all away. Something irrational inside me wanted her to lie better, to say, it was hacked, or, it wasn't what it looked like, anything to patch the sinking boat just long enough to breathe. But she didn't. By morning, Anna had already messaged. "Anna, still alive? Harry, barely, haven't slept. Anna, want me to go with you today? To the studio? Harry, no, I need to hear her lies alone." She didn't reply after that. Maybe she knew I wasn't asking for support, I was asking for silence. My thoughts were already deafening. I made it to the studio by noon. The space was familiar. She used it for client photography, white walls, softbox lighting, a worn-down leather couch near the window. But the second I walked in, I realized she'd staged it for effect. Candles burned in the corners, faux bohemian tapestries had been pinned to one wall, and a playlist of piano covers hummed through her speakers. She always dressed her lies in aesthetics. Martha stood in the middle of the room, holding a ceramic mug, backlit by sunlight like she was starring in her own soft documentary. Her hair was curled, makeup light, outfit designed to say, fragile but composed. She turned when I entered, eyes already glossy. "Harry," she said, like it hurt. "You look thinner." "Recovery will do that," I replied. She gestured to the couch. "Sit, please." I didn't. "I'm not here to make this pretty." She exhaled, a long, shaky thing. I know what I did was impulsive." "Impulsive?" I snapped. "You announced you were single while I was in surgery." "I didn't mean for it to be cruel," she said quickly. "It was a release. I didn't know how to process everything. Watching you go under, thinking of losing you, it panicked me." "You processed my potential death by posting hashtags?" Martha bit her lip. "I shouldn't have posted it." "No," I said flatly. "You shouldn't have wanted to." She walked toward me slowly. "Look, I messed up, but everything else, the history, the memories, that was real. I never faked our love. You just abandoned it." "I didn't plan this," she said. "I didn't think it through. I was angry and scared, and maybe I was already drifting, but I never wanted to hurt you." "But you did." Martha nodded, eyes damp now. "I know." For a moment, neither of us spoke. She reached behind her and pulled something from the counter, a small velvet pouch. From it, she slid the silver anklet. "I found it," she said, placing it gently on the table between us, "in the bathroom drawer, just like I thought." I stared at the anklet like it was evidence in court. Meaningless, really, but it reminded me of the details, the things you ignore, the little vanishing points that add up over time. I sat down on the edge of the couch. She watched me like she was waiting for a signal. "You know why I'm really here?" I asked. "To talk." "No," I said. "To offer you a second NDA." Her expression cracked. "What?" I pulled the document from my bag and slid it across the table. She didn't touch it. "This one's updated, stronger, covers post-surgical trauma, emotional defamation, media engagement bans. If you sign it, I'll take the post down and I won't escalate it further." Her hands trembled, but her voice stayed steady. "You're threatening me." "No," I said. "I'm offering you the clean exit you didn't give me." She looked down at the paper, then at me. "And if I don't sign? Then I'll leak the influencer brand deals you secured using our couple aesthetic as leverage. I'll forward contracts you signed under my name, with my accounts. You'll lose more than followers." Martha's voice dropped to a whisper. "You're not this cold." I leaned in slightly. I wasn't. For a moment, she looked like she'd break, but then something shifted. She reached forward, took the pen, and scribbled her name in sharp, angry letters. A single tear slid down her cheek. "There," she said. "Now we're strangers with paperwork." I folded the NDA and slid it back into my bag. As I stood to leave, she whispered, "I still dream about you sometimes." I stopped but didn't turn. "Then you should get better dreams." Outside, the sun was blinding. My legs felt heavier than they should have, and my chest pulsed with something sharp and hollow, but I didn't regret it. It was finality. Ricky was waiting in his car across the street. He gave me a once-over and asked, "How bad was it?" I looked straight ahead. She cried, "Real or performance?" "Both," I said. "Doesn't matter." "You good?" I hesitated. "Ask me tomorrow." He didn't push. As we drove off, I stared at the rearview mirror. Martha's studio was getting smaller behind us, distant, fading, just like her version of me. 2 weeks after Martha signed the second NDA, things went quiet. Too quiet. Her social media turned from daily content dumps to aesthetic rep posts. No selfies, no captions about healing, no subtle digs. It was like she'd vanished into the template of who she used to pretend to be. At first, I thought it was compliance. Maybe she was finally understanding the concept of consequences. But then Anna called me. "Harry," she said, her voice lower than usual. "You need to check this link, now." I opened the file she sent, a Dropbox folder titled Private Client Agreement Archive. It wasn't hers, it was forwarded to her anonymously. Inside was a PDF. Martha Tempest Partnership Contract PDF. I clicked and read, then sat back in disbelief. The contract was from 3 months ago. It was a brand deal, $10,000 per post for a wellness retreat campaign. But the content strategy outlined in the contract wasn't just product placement, it required personal narrative engagement. Specifically, subject must present an arc of relationship collapse and personal growth journey. Ideal timeline includes visible breakup, solo content pivot, and wellness recovery arc, concluding with retreat appearance. The signature at the bottom, Martha Liu, signed 5 days before my surgery. Anna's voice cut through the silence. She planned everything. The tweet, the breakup, the aesthetic pivot, the whole thing was a campaign rollout. I could barely form the words. I was part of her deliverables. You weren't just part, Anna replied. You were the plot device. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, again. But this wasn't betrayal by impulse. This was betrayal by design. My surgery wasn't an interruption to her life. It was her launch window. Anna sighed. Whoever sent me this knew what they were doing. They CC'd one of the retreat's PR leads. I called them. Want to guess what they said? I didn't answer. They said Martha's rep requested a rebranding clause be added, to position herself as a self-made solo journey influencer. She asked them to scrub any posts that mentioned a relationship before the event. I was stunned. She erased me before she even posted the breakup. Anna didn't speak. She didn't have to. I opened Martha's current account again. A new post had just gone up. A promotional flyer. Reclaim your inner goddess, mind-body retreat in Costa Rica. There she was, centered in the layout, arms outstretched, a quote underneath her image. Sometimes rock bottom is a trampoline, you just have to jump. I laughed, out loud, a short, bitter thing that startled even me. I'd been a hospital patient while she wrote that line. My chest burned. I opened my folder and pulled up the first NDA again, the old one, the soft one, and beside it, the new one. I flipped through the clauses. Clause 4.2. Any promotional use of relationship history within brand sponsorships or media narratives is prohibited without expressed mutual consent. Clause 6.1. Violation of this clause will result in breach penalties of $75,000 minimum, plus legal costs. She hadn't just broken the agreement, she'd obliterated it. I called Ricky. Still in the city? I asked. Yeah, why? I need a favor. Name it. Book a domain, right now. MarthaTempestFiles.com. Bro. Do it. Ricky didn't argue. He never did when my VOE sounded like that. 30 minutes later, I had the site framework up, password protected, for now. I uploaded the partnership contract, then attached screenshots of her scheduled posts, her old tweet, and the timestamp metadata. I built a simple explainer page. You've seen the influencer, now see the strategy. Anna messaged again. Anna. Be smart with this, don't destroy yourself in the process. Harry. I'm not trying to destroy her. Anna. Then what are you doing? Harry. Holding up a mirror. The next day, I got a cease and desist email from Martha's representation. A Gmail account with her name in it. Amateur hour. The message read, take down the site or legal action will follow, this is harassment and defamation. I replied with 3 words. Clause 6.1. Then attached the updated NDA she had signed. An hour later, my phone rang. It was her. I didn't pick up. She called again. Still didn't answer. Then came the text. Martha. You have no idea how deep this goes, you're going to ruin me. For the first time since surgery, I smiled, because I wasn't the one who ruined her. She had written her own destruction into her business model, I was just the guy who read the fine print. I didn't post the website publicly, not yet. I let it sit in silence, like a live grenade with the pin gently resting beside it. Martha knew it was real. She knew I wasn't bluffing. The email chain proved that. She also knew exactly how much she had to lose. That's what made the tension satisfying, watching her spiral, knowing she had finally stepped out too far. She tried everything that week. Texts, voice notes, even a voicemail that started with a breathy whisper and ended with a threat. You're playing a dangerous game, Harry. Don't become the villain in your own story. I saved them all. Ricky monitored the domain metrics for me. Even though the site wasn't public, traffic had spiked, the link had leaked. Whether Anna had forwarded it or someone else had gotten access, it didn't matter. People were reading, quietly, carefully. Whispers started appearing in comment threads beneath Martha's old posts. Didn't she get paid for that breakup? This is giving PR stunt energy. Y'all seen the receipts? She used him like a storyline. Her audience was still loyal, mostly, but the doubt had been planted, and Martha was smart enough to know that trust once cracked never resets. By Thursday, she cracked. I was at home, editing my response video, the one I hadn't decided whether to post, when the buzzer rang. It was her. I froze in place. My phone started vibrating with her contact photo, a picture I hadn't changed. Her smile, tilted slightly, a strand of hair in her eye. Taken months ago, when we thought we still had time. I ignored the call and walked to the intercom. Her voice came through, hollow and unsure. Harry, please, just talk to me. I should have walked away. I didn't. I pressed the door release. 10 minutes later, Martha stood in my apartment again. She looked different, not unkempt, never that, but stripped of polish, no lashes, no liner, no layers, just her. Hoodie, leggings, hair tied back, and face bare of everything except tension. We stood in silence for a moment. Then I asked, why? She blinked. Why what? All of it, the tweet, the contract, the lie. Her lips parted, then closed. Then she sat on the edge of the couch, like her body no longer belonged to her. Because it was working. That sentence landed heavier than I expected. I was building traction, she said, staring at the floor. For the first time, brands were coming to me. Not the other way around. I'd been chasing recognition for years, and they finally saw me, as more than your girlfriend. I folded my arms. So, you made me the background character. She didn't flinch. You always had control, Harry. People listened when you spoke, they followed what you built. I was just an accessory. That's not true, I said immediately. It is, she replied. Even when we were happy, I was orbiting you. I never got to be the sun. And whose fault is that? I asked. Because I gave you everything, my time, my passwords, my income. I let you help define me, because I believed we were building something together. You believed, she echoed. I acted. My chest tightened. Then she looked up at me, finally, eyes rimmed with something raw, not tears, but shame. Or maybe defiance trying to fold into apology. When I signed the retreat contract, she said, I thought you'd never find out. I thought you'd recover and we'd grow distant naturally. I thought I'd pivot online and you'd just fade away. You thought I'd vanish, I said, the words like glass in my throat. Yes, she whispered. I nodded slowly. And the tweet? She hesitated. That was always part of it, I continued. A public break, a reset button, something that would go viral just enough to seem tragic but inspiring. Martha closed her eyes. It was supposed to be symbolic. Symbolic of what? She didn't answer. I stepped forward, not out of anger, but to finally let her see me up close. Not Harry the storyline, or Harry the clean-cut boyfriend, just the real version, exhausted, disappointed, and awake. You made your point, I said. You got the attention, you booked the contract, you rebranded, but you forgot something, Martha. What? You forgot I didn't vanish. She exhaled shakily. You want to destroy me. No, I said. I want to remove your mask. If your career survives what's underneath, then maybe you deserve it. A long silence stretched between us. The apartment felt too quiet, too clean. Then she stood and walked toward me. You want honesty? She asked. I didn't answer. I did love you, she said. But the love got tired, and when I looked at myself beside you, I hated who I was becoming. You could have talked to me. I tried. You posted a breakup announcement while I was unconscious. Her voice cracked. Because talking never changed anything. You were always composed, always calm. I needed chaos to be heard. You created chaos, you got heard. And now? I stepped back. Now you face what you built. She pulled something from her bag and handed it to me, a printed termination letter. The retreat had cancelled her appearance. I lost the deal, she said quietly. They said it's too complicated now. I looked at the paper. Good. Martha's shoulders dropped. So what happens next? I don't post the site, I said. Not yet. Her eyes lifted. But only if you record a public statement, a real one, not curated, not romanticized, just the truth. On camera, start to finish. Her lips parted in shock. You want me to confess? I want you to stop lying, to them, to yourself. And if I say no? Then I release everything. Martha stared at me for a long time, then slowly, she nodded. Fine, but you don't get to direct me. I won't, I said. You'll speak your own words, but you'll finally say them as you, not the brand. She looked away. You really want to burn it all down? No, I said. I want it to end. 2 days later, she recorded the video. Unedited, bare-faced, one take. She admitted the timeline, the contract, the staged content. She didn't cry, she didn't plead, but she said what mattered. I used someone I loved to build something I thought I needed. And I lost both. When the video went live, reactions split. Some forgave, some cancelled, most just moved on. But for the first time, Martha disappeared from the spotlight, not because she was hiding, but because there was nothing left to perform. After the video, I waited. I didn't promote it, didn't tweet it, I simply watched what happened when someone who'd lived behind filters finally spoke without one. It spread on its own. The comment section became a war zone, some praising her honesty, others calling it another ploy. Her followers dropped by thousands over the first 48 hours, sponsors quietly pulled partnerships, articles began circulating on influencer watchdog forums. But I didn't smile, not yet. I knew Martha's downfall would mean nothing if I didn't seal it in truth, not the truth she tried to curate, the full truth, quiet, legal, permanent. 3 days after her video went up, I mailed an envelope to her management agency. Inside was a copy of the partnership contract, the signed NDA she violated, and a breakdown of the financial damages incurred by her breach. On top of that, I added notarized affidavits from Ricky and Anna, confirming Martha's intentions, her timeline, and her manipulation. No bluff, no noise, just facts. Martha called that night. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. You said if I told the truth, you'd let it go. Now you're coming after everything? I saved that too. The next morning, her management team reached out. The email was short. Ms. Liu is no longer represented by our agency. We hope this resolves all outstanding matters. I didn't reply. But I did forward that email to the legal contact listed in her last brand deal contract. Within hours, her entire retreat profile vanished from the sponsor's website. The other influencers from the campaign began scrubbing her from their feeds. No more tags, no more mentions, just silence. Then came the real message. Anna called me while I was walking through the park near my apartment. Check your inbox, she said. What is it? Her lawyer, they're offering a settlement. I opened it on the bench under the willow tree. My hand didn't shake, but something cold crept through my chest as I read. They were offering a formal retraction, a private apology, and a wire transfer of $120,000 to prevent me from filing further litigation. I leaned back and stared at the sky. I had every reason to accept. It was more than the NDA covered, more than my dignity cost, more than she ever deserved to pay. But I didn't reply, not yet. That night, I walked to the old storage box under my bed and pulled out something I hadn't touched in months, a silver USB drive labeled Project Co-Build. It was the idea Martha and I had brainstormed together a year ago. A startup platform for couples who build businesses, create side hustles, or share audiences. We had mocked it up, even pitched it once, then shelved it when things got too tense. The idea had been real, but I had let her steer it toward aesthetics. Now, I saw what it could really be. I called Ricky, told him I was ready. We spent the next 4 weeks rebuilding the concept. This time, without influencers. No curated stories, just verified partnerships, vetted submissions, and education-based content. No brand deals, no staged emotions, just substance. We launched a soft beta by month 2. And one of the first articles to trend was titled, "What Happens When Your Brand is Built on a Breakup?" It included Martha's video, her contract, my NDA, and an open letter I wrote, titled, "What Healing Looks Like When It Isn't Monetized." That one went viral. By the end of the week, 3 major publications reached out to interview me. I declined them all. I didn't want a spotlight. I wanted to build something that didn't need one. Anna joined the platform as legal lead. Ricky ran operations. I handled content strategy. We weren't chasing likes. We were building fireproof honesty. As for Martha, she disappeared from public life shortly after her final brand was pulled out. Her old followers migrated elsewhere. Her past posts were archived or deleted. All that remained was a blue-check ghost with zero momentum. But the story wasn't finished. Not until I returned the key. 3 months after launch, I went back to the apartment Martha once shared with me. The landlord had finally cleared her name off the lease. I boxed up the last thing she'd left behind, a faded vision board she'd taped inside the closet door. I stared at it for a long time. The center had a cutout that read, "Build an empire from the ashes." I smiled. Because she never realized. You can't build from ashes when you're the one who burned it all down. I took the board, walked outside, and dropped it into the trash. Then I went back home. Anna was waiting in the living room. She looked up from her laptop. "Did you drop it off?" "Yeah," I said. "Closure's not loud, it's quiet." She smiled. "So what now?" I exhaled. Now, I was free. From Martha. From the performance. From being a side character in someone else's fantasy. I wasn't interested in revenge anymore. I was already living it. Because Martha didn't just lose followers, she lost her power, and she lost it to someone she once dismissed as too calm to fight back. But I never fought loud. I fought smart. And in the end, the one under anesthesia woke up sharper than she ever saw coming.